inspiration. We need vision. We need folk who encourage and empower other people, psychically, spiritually, but also politically and economically.
Yes.
And I tell you, when I wrote this story about my life, and it has transformed my life because I could see the degree to which I have lived a life. How you doing, my dear brother? A life of unbelievable blessedness, beginning with my mother, Irene West, who has an elementary school named after her in Sacramento, and my father, who died 15 years ago. And oh, I wish that you all had a chance to meet my father. Oh, he was a special. He was a sweet man. He was a gentle man. I tell folk all around the world, I will never be one half the person my father was. Never. No matter how high I go professionally, that's not what's important. What's important is the quality of your soul, the depth of your integrity, your love, your service to others. And that's what I learned in the West family. And the West family is inseparable from Shiloh Baptist Church. So everywhere I go, I know I'm a product of the West family, and I'm a Shiloh Baptist kind of brother. That's what the first section is. Shiloh Baptist kind of brother. No matter how far I stray, because I got gangster proclivities now. Oh, you're not looking at no saint. Or at least you're not looking at that kind of saint. I do aspire. You know, the great John Coltrane, the last concert he ever gave, right down here, with Olatunji. And what was the last thing Coltrane said in the interview? He said, I aspire to be a saint.
Amen.
Love supreme.
Amen.
But he understood it's a saint in the blues tradition. When you're a saint in the blues tradition, you're a funky saint. And a funky saint is a sinner who looks at the world through the lens of your heart. Because every saint got a past.
That's right.
Just like every sinner got a future. And this book is about how you aspire to being sensitive to the suffering of others, but also to find your own voice. That's why the book is about a blues man in the life of the mind, a jazz man in the world of ideas. That's me. That's me. Because a blues man and a blues woman does what? You got to find your voice. You can't imitate. You can't be a copy. You got to be an original. What else do? They look darkness in the face. They sing a sweet song.
Turn on the light.
Turn on the light. That's
Turn
it.
on the light.
Is that your camera too? We turning on the light. Oh yes, we are. Two-man Harlem. We turning on the light.
That's right. All day.
To be soulful, because you can't be a blues man, a blues woman, even in life and mind, without being soulful. And when you're soulful, what are you doing? You are sharing soothing sweetness of folk wrestling with the darkness.
That's right.
That's what you do when you turn on Sarah Vaughan, you turn on Luther Vandross, turn on Anita Baker. And I want this book in the realm of ideas to be soulful. I want folk who's dealing with darkness to be soothed, but also to have their minds broadened so they can straighten up their backs. There used to be a brother who played organ in my church. We knew him as Sylvester, but his name's known to the world for the genius that he was. His name is Sly Stone. That's the kind of church I had. How you doing, Sister Annie? Indeed, it's good to see you. I've been knowing this sister for almost 20 years. She's a revolutionary. She's revolutionary called Dix and other. Sly used to play organ. Sly wrote a song called Stand.
Stand.
In the end, you'll still be you. One who's done all the things you set out to do. Stand as a midget.
Right.
Standing tall. And the giant beside him.
That's right.
That's Sly. And the problem is we got too many folk walking around with their hungry, back hungry. People lowered themselves, disrespecting themselves, dishonoring themselves. Brother Martin used to say, what? You straighten your back up, you're going somewhere because folk can't ride your back unless it's bent. How do you stand up psychically? How do you stand up personally? You do it with love. You never stand up straight if you hate folk. You never stand up straight. You never stand up straight if you accept an injustice. Put on the mask. Great poem by Paul Laurence Dunbar. We wear the mask. Afraid to be yourself. You see. And this book is about how do we begin to take off the mask. Great James Baldwin, who was the finest essayist in the 20th century. He grew up in a section of New York called Harlem. Harlem produced the finest essayist in the English language named James Baldwin. Never went to college. 2 colleges went through him. Because of what? He studied, worked, and he's wrestling with love. And this book is about what James Baldwin means by love when he said, love forces us to take off the mask. We fear we cannot live without, but know we cannot live within. You all understand that? The mask that you fear you cannot live without, but you know deep down in your heart you can't live within it, or you'll never be yourself. You never find your voice. You never be an original. You see? And the anthem of black folk is what? Lift every voice. Doesn't say lift every echo. Lift every voice. Takes courage. The book is about the power of love. And it's about the power of education, awakening, spiritual, political, democratic. And in the end, that awakening is inseparable from putting poor people and working people at the center of how you view the world. So everywhere you go, you're concerned with the orphan, the widow, like in the 1st chapter of Isaiah, the oppressed. Justice, like the 5th chapter of Amos, or the 25th chapter of Matthew that talks about what? The least of these, the prisoners, the young folk, the dilapidated housing and disgraceful school systems. It's so easy in our society obsessed with riches and wealth to overlook them. Cast them aside, push them to the margin in that regard. And this book is very much about trying to live, someone who tried in their own feeble way to live a life like that. And in the end, it's about just Christian witness, because that's who I am. I'm basically just a Christian trying to love my crooked neighbor with my crooked heart.
Okay.
Before I die.
He's going to sign some books.
We got to go to Brother